BlizzCon 2021 highlights. Do you want to lead off the batting with Diablo 2, Swinny? Because then I'll cover Overwatch after that.
Yeah, so I'm definitely not the biggest Diablo fan on this show. That's Mike, but I'll cover some of the basics. So they finally announced the Diablo 2 Resurrected remaster of Diablo 2, which we all knew was happening. We knew that Vicarious Visions was basically merged into Blizzard, probably for that specific reason, because by all accounts, was it Team One? Was Team One working on it before, or am I just
Team One? Yeah.
Was Team One and Team Classic, which seems to be dissolved now.
So,
which by the way, I just can't emphasize this enough. Team One is literally the team that started Blizzard, so it's as if the company that was Blizzard is no more from a lineage perspective.
So Diablo 2 Resurrected is due out this year, essentially for everything. I don't think there's a single platform that it's not coming out for.
Stadia?
Well,
I don't think it's coming out to Stadia.
I'm not counting. I don't count that as a standard platform these days. They never released in Australia, so screw them. And including older consoles as well. So it's touted as a remaster, and when you first see it, you're like, "That's ridiculous," because they've got 3D graphics in it. And Diablo 2 was not 3D, but when they explain why they tout as a remaster, it's very clear. They've basically layered 3D graphics over the original engine, so they've essentially done a Demon
Souls. That's cool, though.
Yeah, but see, you know what? Let's almost like we should chat offline about it. But this whole remaster, remake, all these words, they're abused so much by the industry. They don't really mean anything anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, when they said remaster and I was looking at the footage, I'm like, that's ridiculous. But it's weird because essentially if the game, again, it's like Demon Souls where apparently the animations and everything is still the same. It's just the visuals, and you can swap between the visuals at any time, which is always a cool thing. So if anybody wanted to just have Diablo 2, the original, to play on consoles, because obviously it's still available on PC, you've got that as well. So we'll run in 4K 60 frames per second on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X, but we'll run at lower resolutions on older consoles. It will include all the content and classes from Lord of Destruction expansion, which is obviously expected, but still great to get confirmation. And apparently they're remaking all the cinematics. So there's a lot, like 27
They had
minutes.
cool cinematics in that one.
So
there's like half an hour of cinematics.
This is something I have a big bone to pick with them. So cross-platform progression. So in the trailer, they're like, cross-platform progression on any platform that chooses to support it.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's the first,
Stupid asterisks.
Then you go on the website for this, and they tout it as a planned feature.
Oh.
You can't put this in your announcement trailer unless you know you can. It's confirmed.
I would have kept it out till later. Yeah,
like that is an arsehole move because a lot of people don't know that. So and there's a very good chance it will be supported by everything.
No, there might be legal reasons why they can't. They have to disclaim it a bit because I think some of the platforms, it's not until it goes gold that they confirm those things.
Yeah,
I kind of get it.
I think super misleading.
Well, no, it's not misleading if it comes out on everything. It's misleading if it doesn't. That's where it becomes misleading.
Yeah. So I think
you're safe to say. No, I think you're safe to say that it will be across everything.
So
I think it's just a technicality.
I wouldn't say safe to say, but we'll see.
They've also expanded the personal inventory of your characters and also added shared stash, which is really cool because a lot of people. I don't remember a lot of my time Diablo 2 back in the day. I played way more Diablo 3. But I think, Mike, didn't you have to essentially have a mule character to be able to transfer stuff between?
Yeah, it was separate characters, yeah. And one thing that I don't think they mentioned, which would be the biggest improvement they could possibly make to this game, in my opinion, other than, of course, the visuals and all that stuff, is the ability to reset your character. Because one thing about Diablo 2 is once you went down a certain path, you were stuck down that path.
Oh, you couldn't.
So you could waste points into the wrong thing. Yeah, okay. You could kind of. I wouldn't say screw your character up, but you certainly couldn't maximize what the character could do. And it's kind of like Demon Souls. I haven't yet found... I found how I can change my gender and my looks and stuff in the game, but I haven't found the ability, and I don't know if it exists. And
I think you can in Demon Souls. I think you can.
To change your stats.
Yeah, I think you
reset
can.
Your stats.
I think you can.
I don't know where it is. If it is,
anyway.
I don't... Yeah.
Well, you
But
can't.
it's
You
like
can't in
that
Dark Souls. So
you can't, but I mean that quality of life improvement would be fantastic in a game like this.
Yeah,
so you can experiment and play and enjoy the game. You know what I mean?
when I went through the details of the website, I was looking for that kind of stuff, and I didn't see it there. If it is, then that's great.
I don't think it will be
That's gonna be
because they're
annoying.
just there is really like a reskin, right?
Well, but
Yeah, but
they've done the inventory stuff, so they've done other
inventory,
quality of life.
crossplay. I think there's other quality of life improvements, and I think this would be the biggest quality. And not so much that you screw yourself over or anything like that. It's just cool, just from the perspective of trying a different thing out. So you don't have to spend another 20 hours getting another character up to that level just to try different things out with that character. I think to me that's the biggest thing. I want to be able to just quickly chop and change and try something different, just to experience something different without having to spend another 20 hours doing so.
So I'm super pumped for this. I remember about the reason
Same.
I bounced off Diablo 2 originally was because I was enjoying it, and then I played some PvP, and it put me off for some reason. It's stupid, but at some point there's little things that just bounce you off a game. So I'm looking forward to trying this out when it comes out.
Yeah, no, I think it looks amazing. I know I've been brutal on it, but the Ghosts and Goblins Resurrected or Remastered or whatever it's called.
Yes,
I think it's called
remember
Resurrected,
brutal on
isn't it? Which is the same as this then.
Resurrection, maybe? Let me look it
Not
up.
sure, but I've figured out why I dislike the way that looks and why I like this. The reason why I don't like that game, and I studied the trailer carefully because I was like, I really hate the animation.
So
And it's
Resurrection. It is
Resurrection, so close. The reason why I hate it so much is, and I've realized that they've done 2D artwork, but they've rigged it on a 3D model. And to me, that is never how you do 2D animation. Unfortunately to me, I think you have to just animate it like frame by frame. And that's the only way it looks right to me. So if you look at like the original Diablo 2, it's all 2D and it looks amazing. Like everything, the way it moves, the animation. But yeah, with Ghosts and Goblins, that's why I realized. Whereas this, they've done the right thing, which is they obviously didn't want to do a 2D version. They've done 3D version. And, jump on Diablo's website. It's like diablo2.blizzard.com. You can actually do like a slider where you see the 2D version versus the 3D version.
Don't get the age gate wrong because it won't let you in again.
Oh, unless you get
Oh,
rid of
I just tried to force my way through, and I chose the wrong year, and then I had to literally open a new browser because I couldn't be bothered finding the cookies and stuff. And I'm like, God damn it!
That's funny. You always seem to block yourself from these services, but yeah, I think it looks amazing. Like, and just because of a lifestyle thing with kids and stuff like that, this is the kind of game to me personally, and I think if you don't have kids or you have a lot of free time. I'd want to pick this up on PC if I could, but for me to really sink time into this, I kind of have to have it on the Switch.
Same.
And I'm going to be like fascinated to see how it runs. Because if this runs, like I said, like 95% of the other consoles, 90%, I don't care about 4K and all that stuff. This game, I could see myself sinking a lot of time in this game.
Do we know how Diablo 3 ran on Switch?
Really well. Okay. But like very different game, right? In terms of...
it ran well. Solid 30, I think.
Well, you'd assume that Diablo 3 would be more processor intensive than this.
Well, I don't know, because I know with Diablo 2, when they developed it, it was a bit like there was a lot of hacking going on in the background to get things working. So, sometimes with those things, old games can actually be harder to get running in a funny way. So, it'd be really interesting. I'm hoping so much because, the team has done an amazing job with Tony Hawk. And if they're confident to put this out on the Switch, like if this is 60 on the Switch, that would be insane. Like to me, surely for me, it feels like that's the platform you'd have to play it on, given the style of game that it is. But
if it's 60 on the Switch, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It'd be so cool for that.
With the cross-platform progression, that is something that I just want more people to do that, and I want that to be the standard in the industry,
especially for these kind of games. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so frustrating. Like, I would love to play Skyrim a little bit on my PC, but they just don't have that.
And then there isn't. Yeah. That's what made The Witcher so cool. When they introduced cross-platform, it was awesome. Yeah. So cool.
They're such cool devs, CDPR.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I am up to.
Yeah, look how big it is. I can see it on your screen. It's massive.
Really, you called that big?
But it points it out in a dialogue just before.
Look, okay. Well,
I didn't see it in the dialogue.
I didn't see it in the dialogue either, right? Okay, I see it here, and I do understand why it's not mapped to this because this is fast forward. Makes sense. Perfect. So I am an idiot. I'm not denying the fact that I'm an idiot. I'm an absolute freaking idiot. Okay, I will now press the button. Conclude exploration. Yes. Haha, I passed it.
And just by the way, anyone who's only watching the clip version of this, we were speaking about this in the early part of the podcast.
Because I'm an idiot and I couldn't figure out how to get past the bridge.
Mike did not literally understand how to pass the very first part of a game, which was very simple. I didn't even understand what he got stuck on.
Well, now we know.
Yeah, so Diablo 2 looks awesome. It sounds like we might all pick it up, actually. That might be the first game that we've actually spoken about that we'll all pick up. Overwatch 2. So I wanted to give an update on that. So one thing I'd say about Overwatch 2, I love Overwatch 1, but it was just like a time period that I was kind of felt a bit too late to the party, same as Rainbow Six Siege. But with Overwatch 2, the reception of it initially was, I'd probably say, confusion. And it was really fascinating to see the team behind Overwatch 2 like just directly address that. And they were like really sad about it and disappointed. It was really fascinating. And it was awesome to actually see people talk candidly about things where, they felt that if they never said that Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2 will have a joint PvP mode, so it means that if you have Overwatch 1, you can play against the player base in Overwatch 2 and PvP. Their view is if they didn't have that feature, people would have actually really received it as a very distinct sequel and, a separate game. So I thought, and I kind of agree with that statement, to be honest. We heard a lot more updates of the game itself. So basically every hero, they've refreshed the look, the design, new maps, and I think they're very explicit now about really trying to drive the view that this is a true sequel to the game. They still are retaining the unified PvP where, Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2, you can play against each other. But I still feel like that is going to cause confusion with people and what that means. And
this has probably been covered so much by other places and maybe confirmed back when this first got announced. But what happens...
What got confirmed?
What I'm about to ask.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
If new characters that are introduced in Overwatch 2 will get added over time, are those characters then made available in Overwatch 1?
I don't believe they will be. That's
just weird to me, and that's coming from someone that knows only surface level info about Overwatch. It just seems strange, but yeah.
I think it's almost just like a DLC character. It's like, if you're playing a fighting game with a DLC character, you can fight against them. Other people can pick them, but unless you buy it, you won't be able to play as that character.
But I mean, it's so much more in team balance. It's so much more important, though.
It's more integral.
So that stuff has already probably been discussed to death and confirmed. That was just a question. I wasn't sure. So.
You look, like one thing I will say about Blizzard, like they make amazing games and they almost like a victim of their own success where, look at StarCraft, like a game that I played a lot when I was a kid. When they finally released StarCraft 2, they really struggled to get the StarCraft 1 player base over to StarCraft 2. Don't you think, Mike? He's playing triangle strategy.
No, I'm trying to save it so I can continue the game offline.
So, yeah, I do think that this has got something to do with the fact that Blizzard do have a weird history with sequels and things like that, where they can't get the whole base over to the next game. Even with WoW, like people were still pushing for Classic and they had to re-release a version of the Classic mode. So, yeah, no, Overwatch 2, the other part of it is they still won't say a release date for it, but at the same time, they've said they've got a build of Overwatch 2 where they can fully play. Like fully playable, they love it, they have a lot of fun with it. So yeah, they just really want to make sure it's done. And I think really they want to make sure that all the other elements, the PvE, the story mode, the hero side missions, all those type of things are really rich. So like they can really legitimately go, hey, this is a pretty chunky sequel. The other news was Blizzard Arcade Collection, which is a bit of a weird title. It's already been released on PC, Switch, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So it collects Lost Vikings, Blackthorn, and Rock and Roll Racing. I think I actually owned all of those games, strangely enough. It includes save states, rewind features,
Blackthorn?
filters, and...
Really?
Yeah, on PC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on PC I had that game, yeah. And maybe I didn't own Rock and Roll Racing, but I played that a lot and played Lost Vikings a lot. So are you excited about this, Swinny?
Look, any re-release of Lost Vikings makes me excited. It's a real shame that didn't include Lost Vikings 2.
Yeah, it is. That was my favorite one as well. Did you ever play them, Mike?
No. I think I played Blackthorn. I remember that was that on SNES?
Yeah, and PC.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah.
But no, Vikings.
Blackthorn was really neat. Didn't get too far into it. It's a pretty punishing game if you don't know what you're doing. Rock and roll racing, as we said, is really fun. But yeah, Lost Vikings. The only issue I have is I think the price point's just a bit too high for it.
Yes, $30 Australian.
Yeah, well, and I put
Gun special.
That was the Xbox price. I'm assuming it's probably common price across all the platforms. But
That's probably more on Switch then. It's probably like 45. I'll just check it quickly.
yeah, and because if it was like, oh, Lost Vikings for like $15, like I'd be willing to pick that up, but $30 is probably just a bit much. So maybe when it goes on special, and this stuff generally, these collections.
Yeah, this would
on
definitely
sale.
go on special. Yeah, it's $30 on the Switch as well.
And I like that they've got the multiple versions. They went to the extra effort. It's kind of like the Contra collections that Konami did recently in that. So you've got the PC and SNES versions or the different versions, which is great for people that are purists or want to play the exact one that they remember. That's great.
Yeah, I think that's becoming a selling point in a lot of these games, like being able to switch modes to the old mode. It's just like such a cool little marketing trick.
They did also do like it's almost like a little mini remastered version, I think, of Rock and Roll Racing. I'm not sure if they did it for all of them. So they actually put quite a bit of work into this. So yeah, well done, Blizzard. They're just not arcade games in any way.
Yeah, no, that's the weirdest title. And last thing from us, just on BlizzCon, is just around the news on Diablo 4. So they're re-including the rogue class, and the trailer was so gruesome we couldn't even use it as B-roll.
It's actually,
we don't want to get blocked.
Yeah, reading up quite a bit about this, actually, they've actually done some really cool stuff with the rogue class. I haven't read everything that Diablo 4 is doing, but it seems like they're just expanding so much on Diablo 3 because they talk about like taking on different guild quests or something, and that somehow can help shape the way your character plays as the rogue. So I'm like, that's really, really cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to, I don't even know. We don't have a release date for this game or anything.
No, so like in an earnings call earlier, they made it clear that Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 won't release this year. So 2022 for both of them is the earliest that we know, based on what they told investors, and they don't muck around with that stuff. And it's a huge issue if you say something incorrect to investors.
And if Diablo 3 is anything to go by, Diablo 4 probably won't properly release until 2 years after the game's actually released, because they will remake it, and redo it.
Well, but just on that, so there is reporting, including from Jason Schreier, that Diablo 4 is going through a bit of development hell. So
damn it.
I'm just glad that the separation with Diablo 2 Resurrected and Diablo 4, I think that would have been a huge mistake releasing them within even a year window, I reckon. I just feel like
tied together at all, yeah.
Yeah, I just think that they can get a lot of airtime with Diablo 2. A lot of people have not played that game. People aren't as old as us. So, I think there's a lot of people who will play that game for the first time and it will become their favorite Diablo. And then, build that hype up for Diablo 4. So
I wish number 1 is the one that I actually really wanted a remake for. But
I don't know if they'll ever do that. I think they need to remake that, not
Well, they had it on.
it.
There was a PlayStation version, which was really cool, and it was
That was a
co-op.
different version from what I understand. Like they coded that from
basically
scratch.
this. Yeah, but it was basically. I mean, mechanics were the same, classes were the same, items were the same. Like it was the same game, really. But that worked really, really well, and it was awesome to play it local couch co-op. But with Diablo 4, I think what I like is the direction they've taken it in visually. It's more real, more gritty, and it's not that number 3 was necessarily cartoony, but it wasn't that far off Torchlight in terms of the look. Like it was more of a slightly more realistic version of Torchlight in that sense. Okay, it was way more realistic than Torchlight if you really wanted to put it that way, but I still felt like it was a little cartoony in some ways, just the art style. Great art style, very, very sort of, dare I say, unique. And it's funny because you guys were talking before about Fortnite. To me, Diablo almost had like a Fortnite-y appeal to it in the sense that it wasn't quite realistic, but it sort of had realistic looking kind of characters with funny things on them. Diablo, of course, was a lot more realistic than that, but it still had that sort of almost watercolory I don't even know how you describe that art style. It's a specific art style that was cool. It's just that I think for a game like Diablo, realism to me is more suited.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it actually.
And overall, it seemed like BlizzCon, pretty well received by everyone. I haven't really heard many people complain about it. They've had a lot of gaffes in the past.
Yeah, when they tried to release the mobile Diablo, and people were like, "Give us the actual Diablo."
Yeah, and that was. I think that's just bad PR and the way they managed that
really
rollout.
bad PR, yeah.
Because everything that people have said about that game, it's awesome. Diablo Immortals, like the mobile game that's coming out very soon, actually. And that's also interesting that they didn't mention it. As far as I understand, Swinny, they didn't mention the mobile Diablo game at all.
I did see something about it, but
Was that with BlizzCon, or is that like a separate PR announcement?
I'm not sure. The highlights we chose are the ones that I thought were the ones we'd want to talk to more. So
I might be wrong. Look, like I kind of understood that they didn't. Oh no, it seems like they did talk about it a bit more. I'm actually looking forward to Diablo Immortal. I want to try it because I've heard really, really good things about it.
Could be good, yeah. The only thing, so I'm not going to go back to that old chestnut. When I think of Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, I have pretty fond memories of those games, and I think that's because they were predominantly single player games for me.
Yeah.
Other than couch Diablo 1, and I played Diablo 2 a little bit with some friends, but not a hell of a lot. So they're predominantly just single player cool experiences, and I have pretty fond memories of them. Whereas with Diablo 3, I played that to death. Like between multiple platforms, it's got to be at least 1,000 hours into that game, and I do not have any fond memories of it. Just the grind. When I think about Diablo, I just think grind, and it's weird. It almost gives me PTSD thinking about that game in that sense. So I think it's different now. I think I can pick up Diablo 4 and just focus on going through the story once. With one of the characters, maybe twice, just try out a different character and stuff. But the whole online repetitive grindy, the whole tiered thing, the seasonal stuff, screw all of that. It's just insane. Like watching videos of what I used to do. So if I watch gameplay of people playing those things now, which is exactly what I used to do back in the day, it's nuts. Like I look at it and I go, what the hell did I spend my time on? It's insane. So we'll see how Diablo 4 goes with that. Because it's a core part of the game in that sense, getting people to go back and do it over and over again is a core part of the mechanics. So
yeah, fair enough. All right, Swinny, over to a game that you really, really enjoyed and some DLC coming out for it.
Yeah, so this week, unfortunately,